Hey, everybody on IG. Just getting set up for the show here. As always, we got 4 feeds firing up. We got a countdown going. We're ready to rock and roll. Hey, everybody. I am Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It is a live Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn show where we talk about the life of a master craftsperson and a paint business entrepreneur. So tonight, super excited. We are continuing the Mastering the Basics series. We are on week 5 of this. We started at the start of the year. I'm going through all the steps to professionalization. You see that little graphic down below here? This is a sheet that I'm going to send you guys that lists all the things that I did and other businesses in our industry did to professionalize their business. Professionalize their business means that they are going to make more profit. They're going to be more stable, have less stress, and lots more fun. Most of the companies that I look up to in the industry follow the same process here. I synthesized it for mine, and I put in a special document with links to all of the shows for each step, and I give away all of my resources as other people have towards me. That's the ethos of the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, and this show. So at the end of this show, I'm gonna give you my I'm going to give you my email address and I'm going to send you all of my resources. Tonight, we are talking about, please hang with me, human resources. I used to call this show Standards and Deliverables, but it is really human resources. Now, before you turn off and go back to your family, your dinner, go to bed, something like that, basically what you guys have to do is hang with me, because if you have ever experienced friction with employees or with some contractors, this is the show for you. Human resources is basically resources for humans within inside your company. So think about job descriptions, think about pay scales, review process, employee manuals, sub-agreements, all that stuff that we always ask people about. We don't really have in our business right now, but we need to. We know we need to. At the end of this, I'm going to give you guys all this stuff. So hang with me. This stuff is the meat and potatoes that actually make businesses run. It's sexy to make a logo. It's sexy to make a website. It's sexy to make Facebook and Instagram ads. But guess what? If your company is not prepared and professional for all this stuff, doesn't matter, folks. You got to professionalize your business. And that's what I'm here to do. If you follow me on any types of social media and like anything that you see how much fun I'm having. You see all the awesome people that are gathered around. We started apprenticeship this week, right? You want to talk about human resources. I used every single one of my resources this week to recruit, to onboard, to train, employee paperwork, pay scales, job descriptions, all that stuff. I use them in my business this week. I practice what I preach. I'm going to give it all to you, things that I've learned. So get your questions ready, get your comments ready. I will mention this before we get too far, which is, oh, look at this, folks. Here's my show notes. The PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, just released their 2025 and 2026 slate of events up until Expo of next year. So what you're looking at here is the brand new, freshly released lineup of events across the country for you to see. So Craftsmanship, April, Annapolis, Maryland. PCA in Espanol, San Antonio, Texas, September. Residential, September in San Antonio, Texas as well. 1 week for both of those. Women in Paint, Nashville. Do not miss this, right? Our executive director, Jill, is from Nashville. She knows all the secret places, all the awesome places. If you want to get off Broadway, where all the bridesmaids party goes, they know where to go. If you want to be on Broadway, where all the bridesmaids parties are in Nashville, the big party spot with all the famous bars, you can also be there too. They know all the good places. Commercial, one of the coolest places on earth, Hotel del Coronado. For those of you who are at the Broadmoor, historic estate, base of the mountains, wilderness, history. Guess what? The Hotel del Coronado is that, but on the ocean, on an island in San Diego. Historic hotel, newly renovated, 5-star. And then, of course, Expo, backed by insanely popular demand. We're going to Orlando next February. And that will be my final year as chair, my final Expo as chair. So, all right, everybody, we got plenty of people watching here. Get all your questions and comments ready. I'm going to remind you a few things. Number one, right now, if you're watching this, share it in your feed, share it in your story, like, subscribe, follow Ask a Painter, subscribe to my one-page weekly, share this into the painters Facebook groups, share this all over Instagram. Let's get other people in here. Let's get back to this, which is at the end of this show, I'm going to give you my email address for those of you who already have it. Just say that you watch show, what are we on, 454? almost 9 years of this stuff going on now. Say you saw the HR show, the HR resources show, and I will send you my entire packet. Want a little glimpse of what's to follow here? How about an admin and coordinator job description? How about an employee handbook, all 32 pages? I get vetted twice a year by a lawyer. I'm going to give that to you. How about an estimator job description and pay scale, right? How about my onboarding checklist? How about a apprentice or craftsperson, painter job description? How about a project manager job description, employment agreement, pay scale, all that good stuff? Here's a sub agreement, right? These are only a few of the things. If you take a look at the HR resource template that I'm going to give you, along with all these other resources, you have my onboarding checklist, you have my training schedule, which we are operating this week. We have my interview process with questions and ranking system. We have my painter pay scale. Let's back that up a little bit there. Even farther. This is my painter pay scale, how we pay people. And here's my org chart, right? You can fill this in yourself. So that's what you guys have to look forward to. I will also send you this document, Steps to Professionalization. Last thing before we dive into this, folks, the Human Resources Show. Any question, any comment, drop those in the comments here. I have a full live stream going down on multiple screens here for any of your questions or comments. I will answer them if they're applicable to the thing. Otherwise, I will not let one get by. So without further ado, let's get into show number 5 of Mastering the Basics in 2025. Human Resources, the Standards and Deliverables Show. This is show number 454. I do one a week. That's 454 weeks of consecutively broadcasting. I am now going to walk you through my entire Human Resources Department, and show you how I find success with employees and subcontractors. Let's get this going, folks. All right, so standards and deliverables. That's kind of what we're talking here. What is the standard of your company? What are the deliverables? And how do the humans function around it, right? I hate to say it, folks. These are necessities. These aren't, well, someday when I'm big and professional, I'll have to have them. You need these right now. They're the only way that you can make employees and subcontractors work is having a whole bunch of these inside your company. So let's talk about the basic stuff. You see my little wheel there. In the center of the hub of my wheel are the goals of the company. We have to make job descriptions. I'm going to give you my job description. That's fine. I would really urge you to modify this stuff. Luke 648, I will give you my email address on the last screen of this presentation here if you want all this stuff here. So the goals of the company dictate what the job descriptions look like. They dictate what the employee resource guide, the employee manual is. It dictates what the training is. You need job costing to make all these comp plans work, and you need a goal setting and review process, but it must be based on something, not just what I do, not what other companies do. You have to base it on the goals of the company. So it has to be, you have to have a job description. You have to have a competency and metric-based pay scale. Remember, we always preach a production rate or a unit rate pricing system that's replicable for your business. When you deal with people's pay, folks, it has to be simple. It has to be transparent. It has to be predictable, right? And if they do good, they have to get paid good, right? If they do bad, they have to get paid bad. And that's the system that we have to go on, based on metrics, based not on your feelings, right? And that's very important. So goal setting and review. You have to have a way to sit down with your people, review their performance, give them pointers, and show them that light switch test. They either did it or they didn't do it. It has to be based on things they can control and their efforts, right? So you got to have an employee handbook. This is a combination of state and federal law. It's also all of your company internal policies. It can have some of your pay scales, your review process. It can have what happens if you need pet bereavement leave. What happens if your spouse gets sick and they need you? What happens if you need a medical leave of absence? All that other stuff. That's all in there, right? You need training processes and recruiting processes and things like that. We're going to get into those. So these are the non-negotiables of this. So some quick notes before we go too far. If it's not written down, folks, it doesn't exist, right? I spoke with a business owner recently who hired a painter. New recruit painter decided they're not going to get on ladders anymore. And this business owner was irate. They're like, Nick, what do? I hired this person as a painter. They refuse to get on a ladder over 6 feet anymore. And sadly, what I told this person is, well, what does their job description say? He told me there is no job description. And I would say, you can rightly assume that a painter would use ladders, but if it's not written down, it does not exist. So it needs to be written down. If this person brushes, rolls, sprays, solvent and water-based finishes from ladders up to 40 feet high on the inside and outside of houses, just say it in a job description. Give that to them to read, go over it with them, see if they have any questions. You both sign it. Now it's set in stone, right? Every single one of the resources that I'm going to give you guys is worthless without a good manager and good accountability. And if I'm being honest, almost all of us, almost everybody in this industry is a horrible manager of humans, right? We're great at founding a company and scaling it. We're good at painting, and there's all this stuff in between, all this management that people need, including us. And we're typically not good at it, and most companies can't either afford it or don't possess it, give or take. So you're going to have to assume this until you can find somebody else who can do it better than you. Now, you must train, review, and give feedback during training for it to be useful, right? That's the most important part. That's the most important part of all this thing. You got to have connectedness with your people. You got to stay in there with them. You got to give them, you got to give them constant feedback on what they're doing. So remember, this is a human business, folks. I got brought up in Trades V1, the version 1 of Trades, where old grumpy men screamed at young people. The same old grumpy men also screamed, "Where are all the young people?" Guess what, folks? You guys run unprofessional businesses. This is gross generalization. I was one of these people as well, too. I was kind of the last one of these things. But I was brought up in the Trades V1 where I was screamed at, right? The problem was I love this trade so much. I hung around long enough to realize that was bad and start my own business and do their own thing. People don't treat young people very well, and magically, not a lot of young people got into the trades. Also, they saw these business owners as grumpy, maybe addicted to some substances, generally angry, not loving their life, and they don't have a lot of money. That is not the picture of inspiration for young people to get into this industry. So I will tell you guys, in order to make all of this work, you need to have these basic things that all businesses do. A place like Target or Best Buy or Google, they have these things. They have a human resources department. They have a job description. They have a pay scale. They have ways of rating your performance, things like that. If all of your people's pay is based on your feelings, you're going to have so much turnover in your business. If you don't have a written job description or a pay scale they can rely on to hold you accountable, that you can hold them accountable to, you're going to have so much turnover. And then you hear that same revolving argument. All these young people, they come into my business, I train them, then they go start their own business. Guess what? Those are the good people. You should have given them better opportunities. If somebody leaves your business to start their own business, that is a lot harder than being an employee. That should tell you that you need to do a little better, right? And I've told myself that, and I've tried to do that. Also, remember, there's differences between technicians, managers, and leaders. And when you think about what they want in life, what they're motivated by, what satisfies them versus what motivates them, what they want to be paid, what their work week looks like, it's typically different, and it's typically not what you think they want. Sorry, still getting over a scratchy throat here. So I'm not going to get into the management thing. This is a later show, but remember, none of this stuff works unless there's a manager there to do this. You can print off all my resources, throw them in a file cabinet. They're completely useless. You need to be consistent, not extreme. You need to inspire your people, right? You got to have the proper emotional reaction to the things that you witness. You need to celebrate the hell out of wins, right? When your people win, even do the basic things you ask them to, that is a win. You need to celebrate it. You need to have empathy. You need to uphold the standards of the company. You need to listen. You got to have a little bit of grace, and you got to ask a lot of questions. Tell me if that sounds like tradespeople. It does not. It doesn't even sound like most managers, if I'm being honest, but that is what makes a good manager. And that's what my task has been over the last bunch of years, is to find some way to function within that so I can be a better manager and leader for my people. And it's working pretty well. Now, you also have to understand that when we talk about standards and deliverables, not everything is a crack open their neck and scream down their throat sort of thing, right? So here's the deal. You got to know the difference between a core value violation, and you have to know the difference between a technical violation, right? A technical violation is, I used the wrong brush in this room. I could have done better. It's not the end of the world. That is not a crack open their neck and scream down their throat sort of thing. A core value violation is, I punch in and then I drive around the company van and go to convenience stores when I should be at work, and I'm buying burritos and energy drinks and things like that. That is theft, and that is stealing, and that is a core value violation, right? You do need to crack open somebody's neck and breathe down their throat. You need to let them, that's a little hyperbole. You don't actually do that. What you need to do is set the standard, which is, That is in direct violation of not only the law, but our employment agreement and your employee handbook. And if I ever see you do that again, you will be immediately fired. Now, before I jump to conclusions and fire you, did you understand that that was the standard? Do you need anything from me to make sure you comply? Are you going to do this again in the future? Things like that. And also, we have a show coming up about leading management and holding people accountable, which is a very deep, very big show. We will get into all of these sort of things. So hold tight with that. I just want to touch on this and let you know it's a very important thing. 2 shows from now, we're going into a deep dive and I'll give you all my resources for all that stuff too. So let's talk about all the non-negotiables that make a great human resources department and make success. I don't want to keep saying human resources, but there honestly is no better word to describe all the crap that I'm going to give you tonight. It's basically how you find success with employees and subs. Number 1 job description. It's the employment basics. It's all the FAQs that they ask you. It's keys for being successful. You're setting proper expectations, and you also want them to read it and sign off. I will give you a copy of mine. You can modify it, do whatever you want, but it's the basic. And we have coordinator, estimator, project manager, painter, all that stuff thrown in there for you guys. Let's see if we got any. Actually, hey, questions. Ooh, do you have a general liability? Do you have a good general liability insurance you recommend? Yes. You want to find the cheapest coverage that will give you the cheapest premium that will give you the most coverage through a human that you trust. That's the best thing I can tell you. Insurance is a disaster. I love my insurance company. I even like the humans I deal with within the insurance company. I hate insurance. I hate insurance. I hate every bit of it. I hate paying the premium. I hate interacting with it. If I use it, my rates go up, right? If I grow my business, my rates go up. There's nothing I can do successfully that won't raise my rates, right? And you get penalized if you use it. And it costs me about $160,000 a year for all my insurance. It is disgusting. I also can't operate it without it. So it just kind of is what it is. So thank you for that question. Where do you get your stickers? Sticker Mule is where I get a lot of this stuff right here. Sticker Mule. They've been really good. Okay, let's get back to next step here. Competency and metric-based pay scale. The worst thing you can do as a boss, a leader, or a manager is to not let your people know when you're going to sit down with them and not let them know what they need to do to get a raise. This is where I get real spicy because I live in a world where constantly painters say, "Where's all the good young people? I train these people, then they leave." Meanwhile, they have no pay scale in their company. Would you work for anybody when they wouldn't tell you what you're going to be paid or when you're going to have your pay reviewed? You'd be like, well, that's a crook, right? But 99% of all painting businesses hire somebody. They obviously agree to a wage at start, but they never agree to when they're going to sit down and what they need to do it. Even worse, it's typically expected, well, we sit down with the boss in December. And if the boss is having a rough month or his relationship is getting a little rough, he's got some bad feelings, and then magically nobody gets a pay raise. And if I'm being honest, most businesses, not just painting businesses, pay their people based on the feelings of the business owner at the time that they sit down with an employee. Or even worse, a boss waits till an employee is ready to leave. That employee gets their notice and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll give you a raise. No problem." That is so far gone. That person has already made their mind up. There's nothing you can do to save them. So, hey, Nick, do we need different insurance to use contractors? Yes, you need to increase. So there's many different forms of insurance. You need to talk to a lawyer to make sure you get the right ones. But generally there's like, under the commercial insurance thing, there is like your liability insurance, right? There's your property insurance. There's your umbrella, which is another added coverage. There's work comp if you have employees. There's auto. Sweet Jesus. Equipment. God, what is it? I hate insurance so much. I hate insurance. Equipment replacement, should it be damaged, and all that other stuff. So basically what I do is I lay out all the things that we do, all the things that we own, and then I ask them what's the basic we need to do and what would be something nice to do, and we kind of go there. So okay, competency-based pay scale. It must be simple, predictable, measurable, and transparent. The pay scale must be a light switch. They either did it or they didn't, and that painter and that human knows exactly if they did. You also want to show your people a little bit of the future, right? I propose my pay scale even to my entry-level employees, as this is a way for you to hold me accountable. I can promise you I will pay you this in 3 months if you do these two things. And guess what? Those two things are things you control. It's not the net profit of the company. It's not the feelings of the business owner. My painters can control solely two things: attendance and what happens on the job site. Job budgets, right? So their pay is solely based on those two things, not on paint usage because they don't order paint, not on net profit of the company. So that's kind of there. They're asking simple, predictable, and what? It says it right there on the screen: simple, predictable, and transparent. It must be transparent. If an employee does good, there should be a reward for that, right? And they should feel it. There should never be a time where somebody objectively does great things and doesn't get rewarded for it. That thing. So that is the pay scale. Let's go to the next one: performance-based pay. The secret to my performance-based pay is job budgets. We need to give the painter some idea of how many hours a job is going to be done. I'll walk you through a quick scenario here. There's a site budget and a shop budget. To get a site budget, we take the revenue of the job, whatever the revenue is. In this particular thing, it's 6,315. So we're probably talking a cabinet job. We minus out what we expect to be materials, 15%, right? We don't want to go over 15%. So we take 6,315 minus 15%. And then I want my people to produce about $75 an hour. So I divide that by $75 an hour. And that says 72 hours. That's the outcome of that math equation. What that says is not what they have to get it in. What that says is, if you want to make $75 an hour so that the company can be supported and we can pay them a lot, that job needs to be done in 72 hours. If it's done in 80 hours, you didn't produce 75, you probably produced 70, right? If the job gets done not in 72, but 65, you probably produced $80 of revenue an hour, right? And the painters will be paid and rewarded reciprocally. Now, in our shop budgets, we allocate two things: cabinet doors and passage doors. We have this down to a system. Typically what we do is we allocate 20 minutes of budget per cabinet door and 45 minutes of budget per passage door. Typical thing: 27 cabinet doors and drawers times 20 minutes divided by 60 minutes equals 9 hours for a 27-piece cabinet door. If you have 18 passage doors, 45 minutes a door divided by 60 minutes gives you about 13 and a half hours to finish, from start to finish, 18 passage doors, give or take. That's how it works. So, all right, people are asking what computer programs I'm using. I'm presenting on Google Slides. I use Google for almost everything. It's almost always. So when you guys see this right here, this is the packet of stuff right here that I'm going to send you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 job descriptions, pay scales, sub-agreements, employee handbooks. And then I also have a Google Doc that also has all of the tabs down here with all the spreadsheets that you can fill out as well, based on stuff that I use. So that's what I'm going to be sending you guys. Everything is Google based in my company. All right. Goal setting and reviews. Now, just because you have a pay scale doesn't mean that that can just stand alone and live, right? You need to actually have a way to sit down with your people and let them know how they did and go through all the ins and outs. This is only done with job costing. This is only done with data, right? In the history of all employment, typically employee reviews go like this: I felt like you could have done a little bit better, says the boss. I felt like I worked my butt off, said the painter. And now you're at an impasse because it's two feelings-based arguments and you really can't prove who's right. In my company, there's data. There's your attendance, and then there's how many jobs hit that budget, that magical hour budget. That's your performance. I didn't have anything to do with that. I can sell these jobs for as much as I can. I can guarantee you there's plenty of budget in there. In fact, you could probably get about 30% under. If you can't get 75% of your projects hitting that budget, I can't consider you for a raise. That's a reasonable expectation. It was in your pay scale. It was in your job description when you signed up. That's what you agreed to, and that's what we do. All right, so goal setting and review meetings. This has to be developmental and not punitive. It can't be a list of all the crap they did bad or things you need to improve. There is time and a place for that, but a good manager is generally supportive in helping people reach their goals. And you can do that positively or negatively, right? This is one of the things I'm going to send you guys, which is, this is my template when I sit down and review all of my painters' pay. We basically put in a matrix here their competencies, their attendance, and their job performance. And basically they either get a green, a yellow, or a red. A green is you get a raise. A yellow is you keep your job, but you didn't do enough to get a raise. Or red, which is you're basically on a performance improvement plan. If you fall below that, you get a certain amount of time to improve. Otherwise, you've fallen so far below the standards that not much I can do for you. It's up to you at this point. So there you go. Okay. Next one, org chart. Very important to have an org chart, right? It's kind of fun to visualize everybody in the company. Um, but it's also a kind of visual reminder of the chain of command of who reports to who's direct report, things like that. And it's based on your kind of vision traction organizer. So you got to think about it as like the goals of the business, right? You don't just hire a bunch of people to hire people. You have goals of the business, and then you figure out based on this chart how many people you need in what area. Based on how many painters you have, you might have to have an estimator or a project manager to support them. You get a whole bunch more painters, and then all of a sudden you're going to need another project manager and another estimator. And then pretty soon, when you get a whole bunch of those little silos, those little teams, you might have to hire another layer of management, a general manager, an operations manager to oversee the managers who manage the technicians, that sort of thing. So Anderson Pintora, boa noite, my friend. Good to see you from Brazil, all my friends in Brazil. All right, folks, reminder, I will give you my email out at the end of this, and you can ask for all the HR resources, the standards and deliverables, or show number 454, and I will send you all of this stuff we're talking about today. Employee handbook. This is something that I've been working on for about 7 or 8 years. I get all of this stuff reviewed twice a year by an employment lawyer to stay ahead of all the changes. Most people don't know that this year in Minnesota, we're mandated to have I forget what it's called, sick and safe and safety time or whatever, but we were basically mandated to give all of our employees PTO. Good part is we've had PTO for 10 years in this company, and whatever I offer people is far exceeded whatever a basic crap that the state gives people. So that made me very happy. Also, we've been practicing this for 10 years. It wasn't a big thing for our company. So, okay, employee handbook. 75% of my employee handbook is employment law. It's just reminders. It's FAQs. So my employees don't have to Google search it or ask me that. I want information given to them swiftly so they can find it, right? 25% is things specific to my company as well, too. I like things like we had a half an hour discussion about the drive policy in my company the other day with some of the leadership here to make sure we clarified the decision tree. That's something I get reviewed twice a year. I want to make sure that not only am I legal, but I'm on the right side of morality as well, too. But I'm also not going to pay people from the time they wake up in their bed to drive to a job site. We have to find some thing where we can all agree that everybody's getting a fair shake at this sort of thing. So, Luke, you're very active tonight. How many employees do you have? I have between 25 and 40 humans, depending on the time of year. Right now, the winter season, we're probably at about 25. In the summer, we can go up to 40, sometimes even more, but I don't want to inflate that number. So if you wield this against your people, you have failed. The employee manual is not a legal document that you shake in front of them to make sure that you can prove them wrong. That's a thing to support them with their frequently asked questions. Now, it says reviewed by a lawyer each year. I do this twice a year to make sure that we stay ahead of this stuff. So all of this stuff, all the HR stuff, there are so many laws and regulations, local, state, federal, all this other stuff, and they change so wildly. I'm going to give you this whole packet, but I would tell you this. I have a great relationship with a lawyer here. What I do is I tell them in an email, I said, okay, we're at our 6-month mark. I would like you to review these 3 documents. What I'm looking for is any updates of law that you can put into this. You reviewed this 6 months ago. I'm just looking for anything new. How much time would it take you to review the new laws and see if any of them are there? And if there's any changes, how long would that take you? Typically, the lawyer calls me back and says, well, it'll take me an hour and a half to review your documents, just to give me a brief reminder where we're at. It'll probably take me an hour or 2 to then insert any new stuff. So we're at about a total of 3 hours total. I say, how much do you charge an hour? They said 120. And I say, great. 3 hours times 120, that's $360. Can you do this for about $360? And they say, great. So there's a scope, there's a price, there's a timeline associated with it. I send it off to them. I basically get that. And they send me back, and it's typically $300 to $350 twice a year. They review all my documents, make suggestions for me to change to stay not only legally, but on the right side of morality with a lot of this. Then we proceed. And I am always ahead of all my employees, and I try to stay ahead of all the laws. But again, the law books are this thick. So you need an employment lawyer for this sort of thing here. Oh, Michael Sharp from Facebook. How do you standardize pay for things like stain touch-ups? You got to standardize what you charge for stain touch-ups. That can be a set price, a unit price, a production rate, or it can just be T&M, right? What you're talking about stain is a super subjective thing. What you're talking about touch-ups is a super subjective thing. Typically, companies like mine companies like all of ours struggle with these sort of things because there's something we can do. I know I can touch up stain. Sometimes I don't know how many processes, how long, what the drying time will be. So in the past, the client always wants a set price, $150 to touch up this stain on a cabinet door. And I'll say, I have no idea. We may end up having to strip this whole cabinet door. So in the end, what I do is for these really tough projects, it's just time and materials. And then what does the client say? Well, how much time? I say, that's not time and materials then. I say, in the past, we've done it as few as 2 hours, and sometimes it's taken us 12 hours. How bad do you want this stain touched up? And that's how we do it, right? So, okay. Thank you, everybody, for watching here. Let's keep rocking and rolling here. Employee handbook, super fun stuff. HR. This stuff, I make fun of it because it's kind of boring and unsexy. What I really want to do is talk about like the latest conversion varnishes and crosslinkers and all this other stuff and the cool apps and things that we use in our business. But in the end, honestly, these are the things that have made my life the best and has made my people more happy doing these things. Yeah, I feel that business owners owe this to their people. So recruiting, this is where we start getting into the fun stuff. I just went through a huge round of recruiting and boy, has the labor market changed. Oh my God. So I'm going to give you a little breakdown about my recruiting process because part of this step 5 in steps to professionalization is having a recruiting process. I'm going to show you what mine is. I'm very serious about this. It's one of the things I devote the most time to throughout the year and intentionality. I review the job description, I make a job ad, and I post it, typically different areas on the internet. That takes about 2 hours. And for this one, it cost me about $278.22 in different sites to post it and to boost it for some things. And I had to turn it off. We got so many applicants. We had 80 applications. We ended up getting over 100 applications if you include the organic ones that saw my social media posts. It took me 8 hours to assess them and call them, right? It took me 8 hours to comb through all of them, do a quick background check, maybe follow up with a reference that they had, geographically see where they are to see if they'll even be able to work with us. It took me about 8 hours to get through all of them, right? I did 20 phone interviews based on those, and that took me 16 hours. I did 11 in-person interviews, which took me 15 hours. I made 3 job offers, took me about an hour, give or take. And this week we started onboarding and training of 3 new people, give or take. So it was a great time. And I actually show you my Google Calendar right here. Every one of these 30-minute slots is a phone interview. Every one of these blue slots here was an in-person interview. I devote at least an hour to that stuff. And so if you're serious about it, where are all the good people? Well, guess what? They're all out there. We're just not putting forth any effort to get them. So when I say have a professional process to recruit people, find them and bring them into your company, this is part of it. If you're serious, you wishing into the universe that you had a whole bunch of great people and not doing anything about it isn't going to do anything. You posting on Facebook must be experienced painter, pay based on experience. Call this number. That is not inspiring. And you're only going to get a certain type of human responding to those ads. So you got to do something different, right? Interviews. So now you found these people and, you get these 80 to 100 applicants and now you got to start interviewing them. So I'm going to send you actually some of the interview questions that I use. And they're not just random interview questions that I get from the internet. I actually think interviews are kind of actually painful sometimes because in my business, I can't look for a PhD. I can't look for a CPA. I can't look for a master's in something. There's really not a lot of hard references and things that I can use or experience and background. I really have to go on the humanistic side and a lot of core values. So what I found out was there's things that make it important to me for painters. There's pace, there's accuracy, there's efficiency, and there's independence, right? And I formed some questions based on those things to help me assess people. I'll assign it a numerical value and then I'll stack rank the applicants, things like that. So that's an example of that. I'll send that to you as well too. Anderson Pintura from Brazil. I want to know what the labor market is in the US. Will some immigrants be deported? I don't know. Wish I could tell you, man. It's a wild time here. All I know is 30 to 50% of my labor force is non-English speaking. And I do all my background checks. Part of my sub agreement and all my due diligence is to have I-9s, which prove you're legally able to have a job in the United States, social security card, driver's license, birth certificate, all this other stuff. That's all just basic HR stuff. That's not because I'm trying to root out illegal immigrants. It's because I've done that for 17 years. It is a must. You have to have a W-4 and an I-9. A W-4 is a tax form, tells you how much to deduct. An I-9 proves that you're capable of having a job legally in the United States. So, Anderson, I wish I could tell you, man. All I know is that there's already not enough skilled trades to go around. I also don't want people breaking the laws. So I'm kind of stuck between two worlds of like, for me to sit here and say, oh, no, listen, every single human in the painting industry is perfectly legal above board. That would not be true, right? I will say this. When I say that sort of thing, people always think of our Spanish speakers because they're about 63% of our industry. But I will say this. There's many people that I cannot hire that come to my company. They are not legally able to get a job because of other legal and reasons like that. And they are not Spanish speakers. So this isn't just relegated to people who don't look like us or talk like us, right? This is when you think about entry level employees and especially the trades, there's a whole bunch of people out here who are not legally able to get a job for whatever reason, this way or that. And it just kind of is what it is. The problem is, I know tons and tons and tons of great people in this industry that are amazing humans, do amazing work, take care of our clients amazingly. And if I'm being honest, I don't know if they're legal or not, but here's the deal. I check all my people. I do my due diligence as a business owner because I'm not transferring that stress from somebody else to myself, especially in regards to that. You can get yourself in a lot of legal problems. So what I do is I set myself up a checklist. This is an onboarding checklist. And I say, in order for you to be employed in my company, these are the things I need. And that is completely agnostic of race, creed, gender, religion, any other that stuff. You meet these requirements, you're legally able to be employed at my company. Now, whether I choose you or not, I don't know. That depends on your references, your background, and all that other stuff, your skills. But that's just kind of where we are right now. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a strange world out there right now. Lots is changing, and we'll just find out where it goes. So, yeah. Okay. All right, Luke, have you ever helped any of your employees get citizenship or residency? It's always been open to it. One thing that I've really been working on that I can't get any traction on is actually Anderson Pintura. I've been trying to recruit people from Brazil, and your government, Brazilian government, boy, that makes it hard on us, right? There's a whole bunch of people, business owners in the United States that would literally charter a 747 and fill it full of Brasileiros, amazing humans, unbelievable craftspeople, and want a really good life. Their government lays a whole bunch of really tough situations on them. And boy, I would absolutely love to bring some over here. Not saying that our country is better or whatever, but boy, the opportunities here in this economy are unique in the world. And I will say that if you want to be in a place where you have the freedom to do whatever you want, making money, take risks, get rewarded for it, United States is a singular place, folks. So, all right, back to onboarding checklist. I used this Monday when I onboarded my 3 new people. So we have things we do prior to them coming on, like getting all their uniforms and stuff. And then we have on day 1. It's very important to me that because I was the one who recruited them and interviewed them, I want them to see my face on the first day. So I do hand them off to my lead trainer, but also I start every day of apprenticeship. I did today, I did yesterday with training, with onboarding and making sure that they feel that they're in a comfortable place and that they've made the right choice to be here with us. And I'll send you that checklist as well too. Train the majority of what you do. We don't do any training in my apprenticeship program for exterior processes. What I found over the years is that you either get it or you don't. And it's more of a mindset and a motor rev sort of thing than it is a technical skill. And some people either get it or they don't, just how it is. So we train a lot of interior stuff because I do make all of my people be masters in interior stuff. A few select people will be good in exteriors, but you got to have the right mindset. You got to really have a strong will about you. So it's all based on my standard operating procedures, and it's all based on the deliverables of the business. I will send you my training regimen as well. Then you got to figure out how to retain people, right? As far as I can tell, I have a 3-part process for retaining people as long as I can. If you want to keep your people as long as you can, you need to pay them the most you can. You need to remove all the stress that you can from them, and you got to find them awesome coworkers. Now, having said that, things in their personal life will still dictate their success here. And I've seen wonderful humans absolutely crumble because of some stress in their personal life. What would otherwise be amazing humans crumble in the normal world because of all that personal stress. And so I can increase their pay as much as I can within reason and within morality. I can reduce the stress as much as they can within the things I can control, and I can find them other great people. After that, there is a part where they do just need to show up every day and do really, really good work intentionally. And it's a partnership. It's an agreement, right? That's how it goes. So here we are, folks. The email address, nick@nickslavic.com. If you email me and say, hey, show 454, the HR show, I will send you all of the resources from this bad boy right here. We have job descriptions, we have employee handbooks, estimator job description, painter job description, project manager job description, sub agreement, and all my HR resources in there too. I'll also send you this document here, Steps to Professionalization. It starts with step 1, which we did at the first of the year. In the show notes on Facebook, I have all the dates and the show numbers for all the steps to professionalization, the ones we've done and the ones still to come. So you can get in here. And the best part about this document is if you go here, you click on my links. Hey, I missed the standard operating procedure show number 1 about the steps of professionalization. You just open this baby up to that bad boy. Guess what? Here's the show right here. I walk you through all the steps to make your own SOPs, and then I give you mine all at the end. All those hyperlinks, all these little gold hyperlinks in here are in there. Show number 2, estimating. The proverbial answer. What do you charge for X, right? Also, folks, I got about 5 minutes left. Get your last comments, get your last questions in. We'll sign off for tonight. I'll give you some more resources. We've done the production process, right? Sorry, folks. Getting over a little illness here. Oh, one of my most popular shows of the entire year. Step 4, marketing. It used to be part of another show, and recently I broke it out in its own show. It's becoming so popular now in our industry. Had to give it its own show. And here we are. We are on step number 5, human resources. We have all of the links in here. I've included some other little links from past asset painters where, look at, I show you some live training. Cabinets and trim, interior wall processes. I even go back to how to train decent human beings, people who have never been in the trades before. Next week, you can look forward to this. This is a big show, folks. Historically, either the marketing show or the financial show has always been my most popular one when I go back through the views. Later on, next week, we're going to do financials and goal tracking. The basis of this show is job costing. I'm going to give you my job costing template. I'm going to show you how to insert all the material and labor in there. And then the job costing is basically the key to the pay scales, which I showed you today. It's also the key to actually running a successful business. So if anybody says, I'm killing it in the trades, I'm making so much money, things like that, I'll say, show me your job costing. And they say, well, I've never job costed before. Then I say, that is 100% feelings. That is not true. You may be right, but you're probably wrong. Job costing will prove it and then tell you what you need to improve on. So Norris Painting, do you have an SOP for estimation? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. That's show this bad boy here. I gave it away in this one. The estimating process. I gave you my exact standard operating procedure for estimating in that one. So is it based off job costing? Yes, it is. Everything is based off job costing. If you don't job cost, literally, you can stop watching all this other stuff, go to my past job costing shows, get that template, work on it. It's the key to everything that we do. After financials, we're going to go to lead, manage, and hold people accountable. This is the leadership part. This is the management part. This is all the soft skills that make our businesses run well. Then I'm going to throw in a show at the end here called personal development, which is I'm going to show you my arc through how I've had to change over the years to do this stuff. So here you go, folks. Here's my email address. I'm going to scan for any last questions, and then I'm out of here. We'll call her a night here. So that is my email address. You email me. I will send you these resources. I will ask for a few things in return, and I'm going to ask for one last thing before we sign out right now. Tons of people on Instagram, tons of people on Facebook, tons of people on LinkedIn, tons of people on YouTube. Right now, I want you guys to share this. Share it in your feed. Share it in your story. Like and follow Ask a Painter. Subscribe to the feed so you get notifications every time I go live. Also, share this in all the painter Facebook groups. People, put in a good word. Let's find some more people like us out there, and let's attract some more people to the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association. I would have no idea what any of this stuff is if I hadn't joined the PCA. I owe my professional life to this. It's been absolutely awesome. And if you're not a member of the PCA, you're missing out on the biggest hack in our entire industry. All the secrets, all the things, all of these things were given to me, helped by me, modified by me with and through the PCA. Thank you guys for watching tonight. going to shut down the feeds. I'll be trolling for questions later on. Appreciate the heck out of you guys. I love doing this with you, and we will see you next week for another big Mastering the Basics show. See you guys.